Okay. So I'm not going to talk about the drafts. We kind of already talked about the draft. So looking overall, the one thing that our composition is lacking a little bit is a true strong engage. We don't have a ton of engage. We do outrange them outside of Jin, and you could argue LeBlanc because of her ability to dash so far does outrange us a bit. But all their champions except for Jin have to play into us, whereas a lot of our champions can play going back. Our really only engaged tool is Ashe. I think that's the issue for this draft, is that it's a little harder to pull off because of that, and that's my fault. Um, and I think Brahma and Iron can be an okay pairing if played properly, but I think it's a little bit more difficult to pull off. I don't think it's a perfect one. It requires a lot of priority in the mid lane. And so we'll watch how this game kind of unfolds. Really, for me, I'm going to be focusing on the mid game, and maybe some little tiny things here and there. So, like for Pity, I think you missed some trade patterns. You kept queuing and jumping incorrectly. You would jump while your Q was already pretty far. You need to combo that a little quicker. That was a side thing I noticed in a lot of your combos. But we'll skim through this. We'll go through all 3 games. It'll be about an hour and a half of game footage. I will, in total. We have pretty good priority mid. They roamed pretty early on that Leona. So right now we're having priority mid. I know that was a conversation that we had, was not having a ton of priority in the mid lane. I do think here, so right here, you tank this entire wave. You lose this trade just because you tank this wave. There's 0 reason for you to be tanking this wave. To even walk up like it, that's going to crash into you. And having just used your TP, that really hurt your lane by taking that wave. So far, I mean, we're doing what we want to do. Have decent prio. The ult and missed it. Oh yeah. So in this instance, so just a side note, when running, he is ult-inning you. I don't think he ever, like, in the solo 1v1, he doesn't really kill you here. But by how he's acting, you should know that you are being ganked here. You should be pathing directly to your turret. There's not a real reason to path down. You're not running to anybody. If you're running to Ivern or something like that, that's a reason to path down towards the Ivern. But with where this all-in is happening, and the fact that you don't have vision, it's a blue ward, you don't see this, and how he acted, I would instantly assume that this guy is right here. This moves a lot slower in your... so, I think that this path is incorrect. You die here because instead of pathing this way, if you path up, you don't die. Maybe you still die. He might have to burn flash to kill you, though. I think you pathing down here, though, there's actually 0 reason for you to path the way that you pathed. And I'll watch. Like right here, that it should have been dashing upwards, like moving upwards. Like right there, that dash should be dashed the other direction. And he still has to burn flash, so. I do think, and we can, hey, how's it going? Diggs, BTW. I do think that the itemization that you went for here, because we have duo ADCs, I actually don't think you should have gone AP here. It should have been full support. I would need to do more looking at what Iron does, like in terms of builds and things like that. I need to familiarize myself more with those builds, but I do think that itemizing more toward support here, especially just given the team composition y'all have, is a lot better to do. Good trade, that was good counter engage as well. I think you played that right. We got the kill, which is good. I think you could have played that a little better, and the kill would have been a little easier. But overall, not bad. Right now, just looking at the map, I do think for the first 10 minutes we did have a lot of priority in the mid lane. Obviously, they traded 3-man, and that wasn't. But it has looked like we've had priority for a majority of this mid game. We are kind of roaming. So I think these roams need to be timed better with Loveless and deciding what you want to do. So once this is pushed, saying, okay, we're going to roam top or we're going to roam bot and roam together as a group. And it looks like you did there. You guys went for the gruppies, which is good. So, super obvious. I knew right when Braum roams here. So, before you roam on the Braum, before you do this, you gotta give your team vision, your support. You may not have even had it. Yeah, so you reset with one ward. Even that one ward, like you two should be going and setting this vision up right now, because there's the reaction play. The reaction play is clearly, hey, they're going for grubbies here. They're going to prioritize it. We're going to dive bot lane. So you guys either need to give this, or we need to respond properly. And the only way for us to be able to respond properly is to know where they're at on the map. So we should have dropped that vision prior. We should just in these bushes. Then if they show and we are in this position, Ashe knows to run away. And you give up some plates and things like that, but it's not the worst thing in the world. So I do think that this was just a miscommunication on what we needed to do here. You should foresee the dive, and we should have already had vision. We backed with vision. Ashe dropped one here, and that's just not the one you need. You need vision here to help prevent the dive, especially once she disappears as well. It's okay to send everybody up here for this, but like I said, we need to be ready to respond and protect the bot lane. Especially if their whole thing here, their full plan was to, hey, they're going to go for grubbies here, we're going to just dive. That was 100% their plan, and so we could have set ourselves up to either have the Ashe disengage, or once we realize that, hey, they're not contesting this, just have Gwen and Ivern do these while Braum and Lucian. Ashe will still have to back off, but Braum and Lucian can move down, and then all three can contest. And once these are done, the Gwen can TP down if she needs to. So I just think that this was a really clear play that this was happening, especially when we see him on the vision right there too. Like we saw the homeboy on this, we saw the Xin Zhao. That should be a really big indication that, hey, a dive is probably going to happen. So I think the setups just require, we need a little bit more setup beforehand. How do we die to this? We see them. We know that they're in this area. Yeah, you can't. That was Loveless, or not Loveless, Jacob. That was super not allowed. What you just did. You walked up here after we saw them running out this direction. That was super illegal. That was a free kill. That was really misplayed there. And then you guys, because of it, there's no way you guys shouldn't even contest this. Actually ends up pretty close. Actually ends up really good. Maybe not really good. Yeah, a couple kills. Okay, so we trade about even. That contest is really scary. I don't think I would have tried to contest this. One thing with the Gwen, I am seeing a lot of these from you, Pity. These TPs, you're TPing in front of their face. We need to look more for these type of TPs. I guess you're trying to prevent the dive, but just something to consider, like with Renekton, sometimes you're TPing just in their face rather than a flanking TP, because you need to look for the flanking TP more frequently. Ends up okay. That's fine. We trade. I'm fine with that trade. Lucian pushing bot, which is really good. It literally just sits there for you.
Red team's turret has been destroyed.
Oh, you just missed it too. That's unfortunate. You could have done a little bit different pathing. I think would have made it a little bit easier there, but that is a little bit unlucky. What a flash. What a save by Ivern. I think overall you guys played this fight okay. I think that the communication was a little off. I do think the itemization on Lucian isn't probably the best. I think that given that you are matching the LeBlanc nearly at all times, while it doesn't feel great, I do think getting at least the Hex Drinker would have gone a long way in this 1v1, especially as a later state, like as it gets to this point of the game. I probably would have gotten an early, probably right after first item. I think getting a Hex Drinker would have been valuable. But yeah, like I said, like in this fight, like I just don't like. It's doing okay damage, man. I just think that having a redemption here would have gone so much further, or even having what's the other item called, Moonstone or something like that. I would have gone redemption first. I like redemption, so I just think that would have been so impactful in a fight like that. That I think you should have gotten that first rather than the Leandry. I just don't see. I get that you're like, oh, we're trying to do damage, like I'm trying to do damage, but you drafted Ivern. We're not. Your job isn't to do damage. Your job is to be a support for Ashe, Lucian, and Gwen. You have people who will do damage. It doesn't need to be a quadruple damage comp. It needs to be a 2 damage or 3 damage comp. So I really do think it was a miss to go the Leandries. One thing I think this game was we weren't really great at, and it was a little bit because they were a little crazy. We weren't being cognizant of where we saw people on the map. So I get that it's like you feel kind of safe here, but you have to remember that the line, we've talked about this before, Pity, there's a line, right? Right now, because of there's turrets are down, the line is, and where your team is at, quite literally, the middle of the map is the line. You can't extend past that unless you know exactly where people are. I think, Jacob, you did the same thing. So the line concept, it's hard to explain at this point, but essentially, if you are in a side lane, you can only push up as far as your adjacent lane. Like you can't. So, and if you're in the mid lane, really you're supposed to have both. You can get away with one in certain compositions or in certain situations. But ideally, you have your safety, where you are safe on the map, is as far as these guys can push. So in this state of the game right now, the safety is quite literally the middle of the map is your safety. If they're pushed up onto the turret, that means you can be pushed up onto the turret, generally speaking. Now you have to be aware of where people are on the map, of vision, all that different things. Like if they're pushed up and they're not being contested, you should know, oh, hey, I probably can't push up because they're probably trying to contest me instead of contesting the mid. So for you on the Gwen here, you have to abide by that same rule. You can't, right now it's a stalemate in the mid lane. You can't extend past this unless you know exactly where all 5 team members are. And right now, you know exactly where 4 members are because you've seen the LeBlanc. You have zero idea where the Xin Zhao is. And the Xin Zhao is playing a little bit like an animal and taking advantage of that. He is really making his pathing inefficient. Most junglers, I wouldn't suggest what he is doing because he is making his jungle pass inefficient, and therefore he could fall behind if these plays don't work out. Like when he waited in this bush for Jacob, if these plays don't work out, he falls behind quite a bit. So I just think you got to be wary of that. And it's okay to break the rules as long as you get something out of it. And he does get a kill, and the times he broke rules, he got kills. So he is using the fact that we're kind of not aware of what the rules are of pushing and in the current state of the game, and he takes advantage of that by camping a bush and end up getting a kill. So just a small thing I think that we need to improve on is understanding the map rules and the current map state rules. Ash, you need to stop shooting your hawk shots. So Taddy, stop shooting your hawk shots this direction. Shoot them into jungle areas. Gives way more information. So now we're gonna play by this same rule. So your rule here. So Lucian just died, and Gwen just died. Oh no, I'm sorry, not Lucian. Gwen just died. So now Gwen has lost priority here. So priority, they have it pushed in. So if you take it, this is a spot, you guys are in a spot that is unsafe based on that rule. Because if you draw a line from here to where the wave currently is, which is right here, so a line, anything on this side of the line, so right here, anything past here, you guys do not control currently. You do not have control over it. And that's why they're able to get this flank. It's because you guys play as if you still have control of this bot side, but you don't. And so they are able to come in here, and they are able to pick the Ivern. So you need to keep in mind, anytime there's a wave, draw a line to the adjacent wave, and that is the zone which should be quote-unquote safe. Now, that is not a all-encompassing, this is always the rule, because there are absolutely spots where that rule doesn't apply. But with zero vision, with all these different things, this rule, more times than not, that rule should apply. So draw that line, and both Braum and Ivern are in non-safe spots currently. Ivern gets caught for it. They TP. We're taking a fight. I do think you're being a little late on those Ashe arrows. You need to be a little... And I think overall, I think there's a couple times when we're on Ashe, we need to be looking for Ashe arrows. Like, it doesn't have to be for your lane. You can say, hey, I'm going to shoot one mid. Like, we're trying to gank mid. Fire one mid. And maybe we get one. I think we need to be a little bit more aggressive with how frequently we use Ashe arrows. And how quickly. Okay, they get that. That is what it is. We got a TP out. This play we talked about, that's super bad. I just think once the play's over, we just gotta leave. I think we stay too long. They open up, and we kind of dance. Like, we need to make a call here. Like, TP's up. Was it up before? Is TP up at this point? TP is up. We need to pull a trigger. TP should happen at minimum. If we're saying, hey, we're gonna fight this, we're gonna TP. TP should happen pretty much right now, right then. Right when that Xin Zhao goes in. So, right when the Xin jumps, TP should look to come down. Boom. And in this case, while generally you can look for a flank, and that's helpful to look for a flank, this is an instance where we are losing a fight. You are TPing right on top of the Xin here. So Is that the Jin music? It is. Holy cow. That threw me off. Okay. So, but as I was saying, that TP, I mean, it should have happened already. It happens. Let's see how many seconds late. TP should happen now at 53. We TP at 57, so 4 seconds. By the time you land, you already have 3 people essentially dead. The Brahm's out. Ivern's in a rough spot. So I just think that, I don't know what the miscommunication was on that play, but it was a little scuffed there. We just need to be communicating about when the TP play, where we're TPing, things like that, and we have to be able to better identify what the TP angle is based on the characters that we're playing and the situation given. They get Dragos, unsurprising. Okay, this is one. So, Taddy, you gotta be. This happens a couple times in the series. You need to be better about this. I don't know if you remember me talking about this. Why you can't, if your team, right here, what are they trying to do? They are trying to go and get vision. You can't, especially as an immobile ADC, you cannot walk up here. It's super illegal for you to try and walk up here. You should be with your team helping them get vision. If you get prio and you guys are not, as a group, in a situation like this, I think there are situations where it's like, no, I can hit the turret for free. Like if you're in bot lane, it's first turret bot lane and you just pushed everybody off and you know where people are. But when you don't know where people are, you can't just be walking up solo to this. You need to, when your team is going into ward, even though, like, yes, we love to crash this and get damage on the turret, that's not the priority here. Your team you need to be with these guys to help protect yourself and be able to make plays. Because you walking up there, you just get hit and you just get instant hit, and it leads. You actually get out. So my bad. You get out. Still a horrible spot to be in. You just cannot be there for those. Like if you push a wave in, and you don't know where the enemy team is, you need to roam with your team rather than try and push for the turret. If the call is to push for the turret, and that call is made, that's a different story. But in situations like that, you are allowed to push the turret. But that sucks. You burn both summoners. We have Ash Arrow. I do think we still is another opportunity where we're just not being super aggressive with our, like, we're not using our Ash Arrows at all. This is where you were talking about him being tanky. You were like, oh, he was so tanky. I was like in a side lane and I couldn't kill him. I'll be honest with you, Pity. It's because you missed everything. You hit that. Okay, you missed that one. You missed those. You barely hit any of those. You missed those. The one you do hit, what do you know? He gets chunked. So, no, that wasn't because he was, oh man, super tanky like you said. It's because you missed almost every single skill shot. So, understand, like, you're doing true damage. I think you just gotta work on your Gwyn combos. I think you kept queuing and your dashes were late. It should be queuing and dashing at the same simultaneously. The combo should happen like where you are going in and queuing at the same time. The inputs should be at the same time. Obviously that's generalized, but a lot of these ones that you are missing is because you're queuing and your queue animation is halfway through by the time you dash, and so you miss almost all of it. So yes, it was not because he was super tanky, it was because you missed everything. Yes, so at this point, what we should be doing, We should be. We don't have a lot of turrets, so we need to get this mid lane turret. Our priority should be to keep Baron safe. Get mid lane turret. So I think this is good. Right now, truthfully, right now what we're doing, totally fine. I don't see any issue. Like we have vision of the Baron. We have priority to Drake. So right now, we do not play this fight right. Everything we do in this fight is completely wrong. Right now, the play should be Drake spawns in 41 seconds. Just keep mid prio. I think you guys go down here way too early. Just send one person at most. Braum being up by yourself is kind of whatever. Like, it's not the biggest deal in the world that you all went down. But we know where they are, so you don't. You can send. There's the rule. Like, hey, we know where majority of them are, and Gwen has priority bot lane. The line is from here to here, meaning we should have priority to this Drake. Just like right now, they should have priority. The line is like here to here, so they have priority to the Baron. Now I guess we don't have vision. They have it pinked, but we know they're dancing. We have this as a great ward. We can see them dancing. We can see that Zin's in the mid lane. All we have to do here is have Gwen solo the Drake. If we need to, we can send Ivern down to help, and everybody else sits mid, plays safe, and tries to get this. If they run up here, Gwen stays on Drake. The Ivern heads up as they start this. They don't have a particularly fast Baron. Jhin does not take Baron fast. Xin does not take Baron fast. LeBlanc does not take Baron fast. So their Baron speed is not something we need to be worried about. So in this instance, we should just take the Drake that they are giving us at this point. We have 100% priority on the Drake. So it spawns in 30 seconds. So we should just keep dancing. There's no reason to get. This is where we screw up. Why are we forcing? What was the call here to force this hard? Like, we are sprinting at them. And Gwen gets popped. That's really unfortunate. We just don't have any reason to like take something. You don't have to fight here. We can say, you know what, we're gonna take the stacking of the Drake here. And I don't think they can get this Baron. I think that we force this way too hard. There's just zero reason to force this. If they start the Baron, like I said, we should have already been on the Drake, and we should move up, and we should start throwing harass at them, start poking at them as we can, because they'll be tanking Baron. Baron shreds MR and armor. So if they go and start this, we're fine. We're good. We don't care because they don't take it fast. So I really think here, the biggest mistake, all the mistakes that you know what, the rest of the game is what it is. Right now, we're down 5K. It's still a semi-close game. Our biggest issue is the fact that we prioritize a fight over prioritizing this objective that we had complete priority to, and we're scared of them taking Baron. I think right here, they just have no ability to actually take the Baron. It does hurt that your Gwen got one shot. Just not use abilities here? Is that what happened? We didn't use our W? Oh, got knocked down. That was well played by the. So yeah, I just think that fight, we forced it for no reason. And that was really, really we did this in almost every game where we just had a fight where we just took it for almost no reason. So that was, I just think we gotta understand, like, no, it's okay to, how objectives play out isn't how you guys are thinking the objectives play out. That was a free Drake for us, and there was almost zero way that they get this Baron. They would have gone and started it, and we would have killed this because Gwen shreds these, and Gwen could have just TP'd in and like to right here, and we could have contested this very easily with them having lower armor magic resist. I don't think this was. I think that was clearly what we did. That fight was just, there was zero reason to force that fight as hard as we did. I also think, like I said, in the side lane, Pity, you were saying, oh, you're so tanky, and I don't know like what to do. He wasn't. You were Gwen. You do true damage. It wasn't because he was tanky. It was because he missed everything. So understand, like, we can't let these things like be like, oh, this happened. Like, we need to have a concept of what actually happened. It can't be this made up, like, oh, this is what I think happened. this is what happened, and the big issue was that fight. If you do have questions about that, let me know. We're gonna move on to game 2. I will break these into into all 3 games. So we'll